Hey everyone, I am JustSaiyan, and today we're joined with Deathstar, the creator of Deathlord Hunter, and he recently brought the deck to open qual for a CN versus US, and he top 4 there and got his ticket to China. So he also
It's
hit
top three actually.
top three, and he actually also hit rank 1 on NA with the Deathlord Hunter list. So let's go over to Deathstar to talk quickly about the deck. Okay, so to start off, 200 marks, tracking 2 freezing traps, one freezing trap, one quick shot, 2 snake traps,
Two snakes.
and bring the player list up here. 2 bows, 2 companions, 2 kill commands, 2 unleashes, 1 houndmaster, 2 high maids, move over to 2s and 3s, let's see, 2 haunted creepers, 2 iron beak owls, 2 knife jugglers, 2 mad scientists, 2 death lords, and we have 2 savannas and 2 sludge belchers to finish it off.
Missed the Belchers.
So can you talk a little bit about the card selection?
All right, yeah. So, kind of the decision making that came behind the deck was I was facing a lot of aggro decks in the meta, and they were really hard for me to beat because the best way mid range hunters, which is the kind of my favorite hunter to play, to fight the meta was they had freezings and they had weird like web spinners, and so they their whole point was to go out on curve, and I realized that only works part of the time in the game, and you need a little more. But in order to get a little more for this, it was going to take something besides just curving out, because Hunter while curving out is good, but you need something that can slow down the aggro. So I logically went through the list and thought, like, what effects really kind of help Hunter control the game? And I really thought to myself, there's nothing. There's nobody really doing anything for Hunter besides maybe Belchers at the meta to really kind of keep the aggro decks in check for a Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe a Knife Juggler Unleash combo. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. That's I hope I get lucky with this combo and hope the combo is good with the situation at hand. And it's all sorts of, luck and hope. And it's just, it was not consistent enough to fight the aggro decks I wanted to beat. So in order to compete and beat them, I realized I needed some sort of taunt or heal or something. So my first thought was like to go through heals and stuff, and I realized, Hunter with heals is not very effective because heals aren't very curve efficient cards. So the only
Hunter would
logical
never have
step
time
from
to play heal bot, right?
yeah, it's never fun to play a heal bot as a Hunter because Hunter wins by tempo, and you don't get tempo on heal bot. Heal bot's a value card, not a tempo card.
Right, right. So would
So
you consider this deck like an anti-Hunter Hunter deck?
it definitely can be. Among being an anti-hunter deck, it's great against paladins. It's great against any aggro decks like Zoo, and it's even solid against a lot of mid ranges like Handlock and anything that you need burst to beat them, because it still has the classic mid range burst loadout.
Okay, cool. So when you reference the paladin, are you talking more about aggro paladin, where the snake trap kind of helps counteract their 1/1s?
Yeah. So you can use a lot of like your whole point is to kind of set up against them, and the whole game plan against mid range and aggro is almost the same, because Paladin is another deck besides Hunter that is always trying to curve out.
Right, of course.
And basically, to do that, you have to curve out as well. And so I realized to combat this, you need some form of taunt to control the game. And I realized the best way to help with this taunt is cards like Snake Trap and freezing to maybe throw them off their game, because if you always do snakes, they're always predicting snakes, and snakes aren't always the perfect card in every situation, and it also takes away a little value from the scientist.
Definitely. So like going from Snake Trap into Mad Scientist into Deathlord. So you set up the 2/2, you set up a 2/8, and then you get basically a force on the opponent to proc an extra 3/3 power on the board. That trade's really efficient as 1/1s leading into the Houndmaster turn. So
it does.
Strong early game for anti-aggro.
It does, and one of the benefits of doing this is you get to take one of the most powerful cards in the game, Mad Scientist, and lead it with one of the most defensive stat cards, and then you take cards that give you value like Snake Trap. So you kind of counteract the disadvantage that Deathlord has by getting so much early game presence and value through Deathlord and the setup to Deathlord in order to help the game progress. So the whole point is that you're doing so much early game and you build up all this extra value that whatever they're doing to build tempo is not ever going to be the same kind of presence.
And I guess the burning question is, if you're playing the Deathlords, how do you deal with what pops out?
So that was the next question I had to answer with the deck. Deathlord has this obvious drawback. And, what are they going to flip? Well, Hunter has this very sweet card called Hunter's Mark. And
you mean the 0 mana one?
The 0 mana one. So this kind of fits in with my theory that if I can get the value early, I can not worry about the card disadvantage. So, as they say, tempo can make up a lot of card disadvantage by being more efficient with your curve. Your opponent can't deal with everything you're doing. So Hunter's Mark fits in perfectly with this. So say I randomly flip my opponent an Alexstrasza or something massive type creature, I'm like, that's cool. You just activated my Snake Trap on top of killing my Deathlord. I have all these sweet 1/1 snakes that trade efficiently with my Hunter's Marks. So now I have, the perfect way to use the Hunter's Marks, the perfect way to make the Hunter's Marks efficient. So that was kind of how I theorized and solved the problem of the Deathlord drawback, because you have to keep that card its drawback in mind, because it can be a game-breaking drawback.
Right. And I noticed you also run 2 owls, so ever you get to that point where Deathlord is getting a little bit weak, they haven't quite
yes.
it, you can always silence it for
that. And the meta at the moment has so many effective owl targets. Not only does it activate kill commands, but you can deal with scientists on curve, you can deal with void callers, taunts, you can deal with any of the Tyrion or piloted shredders. I mean, pilot is very popular in the meta. Sometimes just silencing a patron here or there is enough to slow that deck down that you can win through burst combos. It also is enough to hold your opponent back in a lot of situations, just enough that you can keep yourself in the game.
Right, of course. Well, this is the beginning of the season, so we do expect to see a lot of aggressive decks on the ladder, so perfect time for us to play some Deathlord Hunter.
I agree.
Did you buy the Hunter Hero Portrait, by the way?
I did.
Did you buy the other ones?
No. My thought process was like, I don't normally like to spend a lot of money in the game, but, a lot of people know me as a Hunter player, and I really enjoy the class, and I play it a lot. So, it seemed like the logical step to buy the Hunter Hero Portrait, because obviously the more faces of Hunter I can bring, the more I can upset my opponent multiple ways. Got to get all those emotes in.
All the added BM. So
all the added BM.
The Druid matchup?
So to fight the Druid matchup, I realized the best way to do it is going into a Scientist into an Animal Companion, because Scientist is obviously your best 2-drop in the deck. Scientist being Scientist. And then Animal Companion is really good because, you don't have to worry about the Deathlords flipping something big, because in the Druid matchup, it's not more about slowing damage down, but getting early board state. And Animal Companion is one of a highly efficient card in your deck, and so is Mad Scientist. And it's all about using your efficiency to combat things like Innervates and Wild Growth, because that's how they get their efficiency.
Cool. So we mulligan for Scientist and Companion. We have Scientist, so we'll definitely keep that. The Owl, probably not so much, right?
Owl is not important. Like, the only time Owl is really good early against a Druid is if they Innervate Owl or Piloted Shredder, but that's such a what-if scenario, I don't like playing it that way.
Okay. So it's a shame we drew the Snake Trap as the first card, but it also means we have a 50-50 of getting the freezing off the Scientist. It's not too bad.
Well, sometimes they don't even kill the Scientist early, so if you play the Snake, you guarantee the freezing as well. And freezing is very powerful against the Druid.
Looks like we've got a Coin Innervate Shredder.
So this is one of the rare situations in which you would have wanted the Owl, but it's so hard to play. Like, how often is a Druid really going to have Coin Innervate into a Piloted Shredder on turn 1? I mean, it's a very unlikely scenario.
Right. So
here I would actually play the Scientist, because you're more likely to thin a trap out of your deck, and I find that more important because it's too devastating to keep drawing traps in hand. So the higher chance to thin traps out of your deck, the better chance you have to draw things like Deathlord if you need a taunt against him, and Owl, so he's not dominating with the extra creature he gets from the Shredder.
Okay. So he went ahead and played the Wild Growth.
Strong start by our opponent.
Strong good start. So why not bluff the freezing trap with snakes onto?
Because a lot of times, not only is it these ranks that people don't play around those things, but a lot of times people aren't as afraid to run in. They want to make you have it. So sometimes a bluff here is just too risky. It's like, because the moment you play it, you have to wait another turn for Scientist to get going. But right now, you could play the snakes, you can hit his guy, and you can set up the freezing. Now we guaranteeingly freeze away his Piloted. That's one less attack from this Piloted to our face, and that's 4 less damage to us. That extra life can honestly save us against a combo, and Druid combo being one of the most powerful ways to end the game, we really like to have the life to afford it.
Yeah, and it's so unlikely that he has the second Shredder as well on curve, so
exactly.
Basically,
see how
he to free up a turn here, right?
See how he hero powers? Also, by not playing a creature here, he can't keeper us and punish us with that kind of card.
Yeah, so we can go Nerf Juggler on a creeper.
Yep, and now there's 2 creatures, so his keeper is less punishing to us.
Mm-hmm.
And this also sets up perfectly into our Belchers.
Great. I guess our worst card here for us would be Keepers still. Because we wouldn't care too much if he plays a Belcher, right?
True, the Claw would be frustrating as well.
That's true. Okay, so he brings out the Claw.
But what we can do, we can play Belcher, we can land a Juggle, and we can also crash in our Haunted Creeper, because we can still get the maximum amount of snakes, as well as setting up to trade our other little dudes into the Druid Claw. This allows us to get through the Druid Claw easily, and if he keeps playing more creatures, this feeds right into our Unleash.
Are we not afraid of swipe by running this one?
If he swipes, he's not developing his board state.
Okay.
So he takes a turn which could potentially be Thracian to take away his developing this turn.
Okay. So we leave it as is now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You always have to think, what is the if you're getting punished by one card, you have to think what happens if this what are the repercussions if they use this card?
Right.
And honestly, the more you get swipes out early too, the less you have to deal with them later in the game. And if we're constantly making a bunch of 1/1s, this is very good for us.
Okay. So this is a pretty solid swipe if he has it.
Yeah, but we still have the slime left, and then we just play another Belcher. So we're still on the board state. It's still well into the game. And he has to actively keep playing taunts to prevent us from getting damage. Mm-hmm. And with double Belcher, it's very hard for him to really push through.
Well, he has a swipe. But,
it does suck. But again, like I said, he didn't develop his board.
Right. I guess this is what we could expect out of a druid who had wild growth and innervate. So, of course, he also has the swipe.
I mean, the deck was never intended to really beat druid. I mean, Hunter's Marks is obviously a help, but if a druid opponent curves out very well, it's going to obviously hurt your matchup a lot.
Second claw comes down. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
We know he has a Shredder, so we probably won't see that for another 2-3 turns unless his hand has really run out of steam. Is it we push?
Yeah, we push. Because with double Unleash and already burning the second Druid of the Claw, he's going to have to start having Belchers to keep up the taunts. Now, he can heal with Druid of the Claw, but that does feed Unleash, so our whole goal is to race him in here. We're not winning a value game anymore. He obviously has more value in hand, but we could win a racing game.
Okay, fair enough.
So these are those kind of situations where you think about what's in your deck and what your opponent can be doing. And if you logically assume that he's playing Piloteds and these things, you can assume he's more of a combo type druid. And you can think from these plays, you're like, well, if he's a combo type druid, he's probably not going to have very many hunter or very many, how should I say, taunts. So without as many taunts, he's not going to be able to really develop as much or like stop our damage.
Deathstar, he's hurting us. The second swipe was really bad for us, right? So,
yes, but I mean, what can you do? He's had a very strong hand this game.
I think it's just Unleash Houndmaster. Get as much as we can on the board.
I agree. I think we also have to go face as well. Everything to face because, like I said, we're not winning a value game, but we are winning a racing game. If you look at our life compared to his life, it is a decent bit of difference. Mm-hmm. Say we top a deck of Kill Command, we could actually pull this game out as well.
Yeah. There was one trade to consider, which was the Hound into the... What is this?
His guy, and then trade the 1/1.
Yeah. Wow, okay. So this is kind of a problem. He's kind of had it all. I don't think he's missed a single mana either, right? Oh, he missed one mana on turn 6, but...
He also missed 2 mana on turn 4.
That's true.
We're going to need an owl so that we can continue to push on board.
Deathlord, do we play it?
We do. This actually continues to feed our Unleash, and it buys us 8 points of life, if not more, because he has such an awkward way to attack into our guy. Either he takes 2 extra damage from hero power, or he just trades his entire board state in. Or chooses not to attack and hits a lucky red rose. That's the all these possible options, too.
I think he'll want to feed our Unleash. This is good. So we get 4 hounds, 6 if we hit the owl. We're still a little bit off. So what's a perceivable win strategy from here? I think it might be over.
It has to be repeating, I think, owl. Oh, perfect. So we silence this guy. We put him down to 4. And now quick shot or kill command are lethal no matter what, as long as he doesn't heal. And he can trade into our board, but that's not going to be lethal unless he has a Savage Roar or anything like that.
And we're okay with leaving the 2 on up. Can we play?
Yeah, because we're dead to Savage Roar no matter what. And we're dead to combo no matter, or Force of Nature. and he's already burned both of his swipes, so he's basically forced to either have Savage Roar or Force of Nature, and we're dead to both of them either way. So, not much we can do to play around it.
That's fair. He rips the Force in true Druid fashion.
In a true Druid fashion. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Typical Druids. Okay, well, not much we could have done that game.
Generally, when they turn one piloted into Wild Growth, it's going to be a rough matchup from there.
Oh god, I had this tournament game today where the Druid did exactly that. It was like Innervate Shade into Wild Growth, into Coin Claw, into Loatheb, into Emperor, into combo. Sorry, you're dead.
You know, that's what Druid's best known for, is Druid can really beat anything as long as they draw the right part of their deck.
Yeah, but to have... Okay, so to draw 1 or 2 cards, sure, that's fine. You want a coin flip. But to have the whole mana curve into the combo on 7, like...
But that's the whole appeal of Druid, is it just has free wins.
Yeah.
You know, if 1 out of 10 games you just get a free win because your deck is just so unstoppably, or just so well drawn, you know, that's kind of sweet.
So is this the dream hand, Scientist and Deathlord?
Yep. This is the goal of the deck.
We are up against a Paladin. Are we afraid of Equality?
You know, Equality is not a common run card, and people especially don't keep it in their opening hands against Hunter.
That's a very fair point.
It's not a card people, generally mulligan for. Sometimes they have it in their opening hand, and sometimes they can use it effectively against you. But in the end, you have to look at the fact that not only do they have to have it, but it has to flip them something good. Right. So, it's first of all very unlikely that they have it, and second of all, even more unlikely that it will do any good for them. Because a lot of times they can flip just like owls and weak kind of creatures.
Right.
Even like shielded mini bots and knife jugglers aren't even that impressive against our deck.
So there's a chance he's aggro Paladin. I guess using the coin so liberally probably means he is. So let's see what he pulls. We pull snakes, which is what we want, right? So Deathstar.
Yes, because that obviously if we pull the freezing, he just freezes the 1/1. It's not really that effective as a option.
He's mousing over the Deathlord now. Okay.
He's like, I did not expect this. He's like, something went awry here. He's like, Scientist, this is a Hunter card. Then Deathlord, he's like, I don't understand.
Okay, so I guess he's just going to push everything into it anyway.
And this is generally what Paladins do. They just try and just run everything in. But ultimately, he just threw away his board state to do 3 damage to our 2/8. How important was that for him? Not.
What do you think of Scientist hero power here? Just to
that's what I would do because it's the most curve efficient thing you can do. I would also trade the 1/1 because there's a lot of Blessing of Kings going around in Paladin. And, the last thing we want is to just lose all our value to not playing around something as silly as Blessing of Kings.
Right. And it's also really good against True Silver to keep this guy at 5.
Right. Also a fair point. True Silver is something very common. Right? It's less about punishing with the True Silver and more of an annoyance.
So your top stack's the Consecrate. It's not too bad for us.
Which is fine because...
Snakes again. That's really good, right? So
now we can just play bow, hero power, go face. And our hand is a very burst type hand. So what we can do is we can just play a racing game.
Swing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just at this point, we've turned our mode from playing a early tempo efficient hand into a highly aggressive burst hand. And, at this point, we think smork because, we are a hunter. And sometimes that's hunter's best strategy.
Right. Belcher's kind of a problem. But Houndmaster, it's interesting.
So this may seem a little weird here, but I think we're going to Unleash for 1.
Okay.
Because Unleash allows us to push for the damage. Now, most people would go Hunter's Mark here, but if you look at your hand, you can logically assume that you want to be Houndmastering still in this game, and we want to keep the board clear as well. So we want to actually kill command his guy so that we have a Houndmaster target that keeps us on curve and allows us to push damage.
So here, do we use bow or do we use the Deathlord?
We use the Deathlord. I mean, he's at 2. He's going to be at 2 life. The only situation this matters is consecrate. But honestly, if our opponent is consecrating on 6 to kill a 2/2 and a 1/1, how sad can we really be?
Right. It looks like it's going to be Juggler Unleash here with the musters.
Juggler Unleash and Paladin. This is news to me.
But yeah, we were 1 turn away from him playing Juggler and 2nd Consecrate, so it's actually pretty good for us, right?
So think like a hunter and roll a huffer.
Okay, let's do that. Leok.
Oh, you didn't do it.
Did I do well?
Did I do well? You failed the hunter test. You did not always huffer.
So we Houndmaster the Leok still.
Absolutely. This is the most curve efficient thing we can do. What we will do, though, is we will take our bow to his Juggler, because these are one of those situations in which Juggler on board is a quick way to lose a game. And with Hunter's Mark Quick Shot, we are going to most likely cycle with Quick Shot. It's not like Hunter's Mark is really holding back our hand and whether we cycle or not.
That's very fair.
And the max curve out with Quick Shot as well as our deck is the top end is 6. So if we rip a high man, we can still curve with Quick Shot if we're really looking for a card. Also, in this situation, we're fairly well off because he has to have a Consecrate to punish us, and he's already used 1.
Belcher again.
But we have the Hunter's Mark, so as long as he doesn't have Consecrate, it's not an issue.
Right. What is this, Outdoor? And then another dude, I guess?
Outdoor would be actually fairly solid. Sometimes you want your opponents to follow the rules.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Oh, especially if he doesn't kill one of the hounds. Nice. So do we have lethal? 4, 6, push 2. So we get to keep.
Well, roll the Animal Companion, Hunter's Mark his guy, and I think if you roll another Leok, Leok or Huffer is both lethal. Oh wait, is it lethal on board?
Lethal. Actually, no. The Juggler from this could kill one of these 2. So I should have rolled first. That was really bad on my part.
Because you want to try and decrease the chance in which he hits well.
Yeah.
But now we got the Leok, and Leok's fairly solid here. I would definitely Quick Shot him. Hero Powering is just kind of the lame way to win. It's about letting your opponent know that you ran a Deathlord and a Hunter, and you just totally destroyed him.
So slight misplay on my part, not rolling the companion first, but I assume
slight misplay
already. Yeah.
Even if you had hit your guy, though, it wouldn't have mattered because you did hit the Leok. But had you not hit the Leok or a Huffer, it would have punished you because those who only made up enough damage that you would have had exact lethal with your hero power extra.
Right.
But he had some pretty unlucky juggles, so.
Yeah, those juggles were not going well for him. So Paladin, Midrange Paladin, pretty favored for the Deathlord Hunter?
Definitely favored, because Snake Trap is a brutal beating on them. Unleash is a brutal beating. Unleash Knife Juggler is a brutal beating. Deathlord is super hard for them to get through. You have continuous taunts, so you have the snakes to make up for efficient trades. You have the Unleash to punish the overextending, and you have the taunts to really set up your board state.
Okay, so we have Companion Scientist. We talked about this versus Druid last game.
Yeah, we did. So I wouldn't keep Unleash or Deathlord. You really have the Dream Curve. The only thing that could make it better would be a second Scientist, so we can coin Scientist and Scientist into Animal Companion.
Okay, so
honestly, that's the best curve you could possibly have.
High main freezing. So with the high main in hand, do we want to save the coin?
I would, because coining high main is one of the most powerful things to do in a hunter, because a lot of time what holds hunter back is, or holds high main back is, it's being too slow. But getting it out 1 turn early can make a massive difference in whether you win or lose the game. The way this hand is looking at the curve, though, we may actually go Animal Companion into Coin Belcher Hymen because it is a little more efficient on our curve.
Well, we are getting god drawn by druids again. Good stuff. Companion?
Yep.
So Misha is the best role.
Yep, that's exactly what we're looking for. If he plays the Druid Claw, we have our sweet Hunter's Mark to just push through, easily take out just 2/4 value tempo on our board, and we even get a Belcher. So even though he's god drawing us, Hunter's Mark is such a powerful card in this situation, it didn't matter. And the correct Misha roll will do it first. We definitely coin the Belcher because we're gonna play another Belcher. And now you also trade your 4/4 into his 2/4 because that is such an excellent value trade.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So the biggest thing that could screw us over is like Sylvanas here, maybe?
Yeah, but if he Sylvanas, we have the freezing.
Right. So the debate here is whether you want to play second Belcher or set up Freezing Trap before the high main turn.
I think we play the actual Freezing Trap with that Scientist because now we can get the Scientist out and thin the Snake Trap out of our deck because we don't want to draw that. As well as, I mean, I know it's not as much power, but the Freezing does stop the Piloted, which means it's a lot harder for him to kill our Belcher.
Yeah. So this play, even though it wasn't playing on curve with the second Belcher, we have a lot more power. Plus we can go Belcher Creeper on 7 after we play the high main. So definitely works out in our favor. And Shredder is something we don't really want to deal with, right? Sylvanas? Ooh. So... God, the one drop.
Well, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take the 3/5 to his 2/3. And then you have to play the high main. And then we could trade the Scientist into the Sylvanas or something like that, but they're not really great trades either way, so I would just go face.
Well,
and then next
to the Sylvanas, then he brings this back and Sylvanas
exactly.
Goes here.
But so I think we just go face, and then next turn we can drop Belcher and Haunted, and then if we need to trade in to get the Snake set up as well, we can. But again, this is a situation in which we've already killed through 2 taunts, and as long as he doesn't have a bunch more, we could race him.
So a little bit of an awkward situation. He could take a 50-50 by wrathing a Sylvanas after the trade. Oh, I guess it's a 1 out of 3 since the slime is also there. Force of Nature into Wrath would be the worst. Then he almost guarantees the high main steal. It looks like his hand's pretty dead. He's going to play the Shredder again.
That's actually really value for us. A 6-mana Shredder is actually not going to do much in the game.
Wild Growth? Wrath.
The 2/3, 2/2.
Wrath the
Right.
cycle one? To innovate a hero power?
Interesting play by our opponent.
I don't know if that was completely worth it, but okay. Sure.
So we're actually going to probably have a really weird play upcoming in this turn. So here's what I would do. Hit the Piloted with your high main.
Okay.
Alright. Play the Juggler. Then, yeah, you can trade in. And then just play a Belcher. And what this does is we're automatically going to get a Snake Trap. And so the Snakes are just going to make it so, like, we could potentially snipe down Sylvanas. And he could just take a crappy Snake, you know.
Yeah.
If he takes a Snake here, it's not doing much. If he hits our Belcher, he's obviously not going to be able to take anything good except a high main. If we lose a 1 in 6, you know, that's
we're pretty happy with this, right? When he tries a claw into, yeah, that's silly.
But see, this is the kind of diversity of running 2 traps. You just see how he saw a freezing, so his first reaction here was to play Charger and get rid of our guy.
Nice. Steals a snake. Okay.
So this game should be over. Now that he took a crappy snake, he's really just not going to be able to function on this board.
They always have the swipe.
It's alright. The swipe isn't going to be that devastating in the end because we ultimately have the control of this game.
We can save
So
quick shot, right?
yeah, these are some of those situations people often ask, whether we quick shot or hero power here. And this is a good question to answer right now because you hero power because you get extra hero powers in. So you have unlimited hero powers and you can always hero power, but you don't have unlimited quick shots. So it's a much more mana efficient use here, and you should always quick shot these situations.
The only card that we could find off a quick shot is tracking, and would we really want to keep a tracking that turn? Maybe to find high main, but besides that, not really, right?
We can always find it next turn.
12. So we just need 4 damage.
And that could be easily found through a kill command, or I would unleash for 1 because I want to cycle the quick shot. Because if we rip kill command, it's lethal, and if we don't, 1 extra damage is fine. That's a reasonable enough thing. All he has is 1 card in hand, so it's not like he's just sitting on Value Island over here. He just realizes, he can't keep up with our board state, and this is one of those situations in which Deathlord is decent because, he can never make an efficient trade to hit your guys. So another advantage Deathlord has is he protects a lot of your little dudes. Now, Druid obviously has one of the best ways to get around that, which is swipe. But, it's another situation where they're forced to have swipe, and if they don't,
Yeah. 2 Druids down, and we've been swiped 3 times.
But to be fair, I feel like that game really showcased the power of the deck. We just beat a Wild Growth into a Keeper of the Grove, into a Druid of the Claw, into just curve. He never missed really a turn.
Right.
And he had the power to back it up every single turn. But we had our tempo through our Hunter's Mark to make up that Wild Growth. We had our value combos with our Snake Trap and Deathlords, and it was just a solid game.
So what you're saying is this deck, basically, good draw from Druid versus good draw from this deck is still pretty even matched, which is really
exactly
its power. Yeah. So Mad Scientist, Haunted Creeper, keeping both 2s is kind of iffy.
I would still do it because there's definitely a lot of zoo going around, and especially more in the lower ranks, because at these levels, people really want something to level quick with, and the more anti-aggro cards you have, the better chance that you have at beating them.
Fair. Very fair. So Scientist versus Creeper on 2.
A lot of times I also like to think of it like, would you really rather have, say, a kill command in hand over these things? Would you really rather have a multitude of options? And I usually am pretty quick to think no.
Scientist versus Creeper? I think Scientist, right? Set up snakes as early as we can, go into bow, into freezing.
Yeah, so it's almost always snakes no matter what, because not snakes, but scientists, because scientists, you're trying to get a trap out of your deck. Hunter Creeper is always going to give you 2 1/1s when it dies, and Freezing Trap is still going to freeze something whenever you play it. But you're not always going to guarantee to get snakes for your deck, because sometimes if you wait too long in these situations, you may play a scientist not just 1 but 2 turns later.
Yeah, so we need to get this scientist killed soon.
So what I would do is I would play the bow, and then I would just bow his 2/2. I would go face, put the pressure on him, make him make the trade for us. If he doesn't, we can obviously just go snake into Haunted Creeper. We don't have to freezing this guy, because what we want to do is sometimes it's not about actually getting tempo value through a freezing, but making your board state so powerful because he never makes efficient trades with us because he's so afraid of Snake Trap.
So you would want to go Creeper Snakes?
Creeper Snakes.
Over the freezing on one of these 2? I feel like these are going to be really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess freezing's not going to have a good target anymore because he's going to get a lot of 1/1. So I guess freezing's fine here. But normally I would probably play a Snake Trap because Snake takes time to set up and get going with the creature attacks and creature trades. It also takes, a certain amount of bluffing to get your opponent to make it work.
Yeah. Well, the argument in this situation for freezing is he for sure is going to proc freezing next turn, which means we get another bow charge to clear with.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think you're right. The freezing is correct here.
Okay, so we go face then, and we just say, proc our trap.
And, an extra bow charge is always sweet.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, he plays Argus, and then whatever.
We could also trade our scientists in to get some snakes so that when we play Belcher, we can increase, we can get the snake to set up for another trap combo so that we can keep getting bow charges. Bow charges are a very strong element in this game.
Oof, we do not like this. Okay.
I think what you do is you eat the 2/3 with your Haunted Creeper and freezing, or not freezing, but snake trap, and then play a Belcher. Now, I know you're going to lose your freezing value, but what we can think about it in this situation is not about the value we get from the freezing, but the extra bow charge in which we can use to help us race in this game. Because if he double triggers our bow here,
we don't trade this one. We want him to.
Oh yeah, we do, because he's going to trade his Argus in almost for sure. He thinks it's going to be a freezing, right? Yeah. So the next logical step is to trade Argus because you want the Argus value.
Are you sure he's not going to trade a 1/1 in first? Because
if he trades the 1/1 in, now we don't have to deal with Argus.
Okay.
You see what I mean? I would rather him freezing a 1/1 and get a little more board state value because he keeps a 2/3 than him freezing an Argus and killing us because we lose to another taunted board state. You see what I mean?
Sure. But another thing is he can PO the 1/1 now, and we're a little scared of PO on a 1/1 versus PO on the 2/3 or a PO on the 2/1 from the Creeper. But I guess he's going with a Beast of Sergeant here, so not that huge of a deal.
No. Sorry, guys. I'm yawning a lot. Today was I was dealing with a lot of visas for the China versus US tournament. It turns out
we need to rip a hunter's mark really badly.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to things like that. I'm really hoping he doesn't have the second Sea Giant.
The second Sea Giant, Jesus. Are we racing?
I've seen it.
I almost assume we're racing.
We're 100% racing. We rip the high main, play the high main. If he takes his 8/8 into our high main, that's fine. But we have to take our bow to his 2/2 or his 3/2 so that we don't give him a bunch of 1/1s. Trade one of our 1/1s to his 2/1, not the snake.
Whoops.
Not the snake.
Micro, and the rest goes face.
Yeah, the rest goes face.
12,
now,
12 damage. He's 10 off, so this is fine, right?
Yeah. So the reason why we don't trade snakes is we have kill commands, and kill commands do require beasts. Now, while we have unleash, you don't always have unleash kill command because we may not want to just straight up unleash kill command next turn.
Mm-hmm. So, second Argus would be bad. I guess if he has the implosion here, it's also pretty bad for us, but maybe not so much. Looks like he's going to make room for implosion and then send the Sea Giant to our face. So he needs to roll a 3 on this. 4. Yep.
Yeah.
So now we have 2, 7, top of 5, 10, 17 damage, so we're a little bit off.
Yeah, but
I see very little reason for him to trade, so yeah.
So I guess we're going to need to rip a Knife Juggler, an Unleash, or...
So how do we want to do this?
Well, we're at, 11 life? We have to survive, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess we can trade our 2/2 into his 3/2. Unleash. His 2/2, your 2/2 into his 3/2.
Are we not kill commanding this? So we want to trade this first.
No, we're gonna have to play this game risky. So there's a we have to play this game risky if we want a chance at winning.
Okay.
So this is a big situation in which a lot of people like to play defensively. It's the difference between playing to win and playing to survive. And I'm not in a situation to play to survive. I'm in a situation to play to win. Okay. So we're gonna unleash. We're gonna eat all of his 1/1s. Then we're gonna throw up a snake trap.
How do you want to eat the last 1/1? With the 2/2 or the 1/1?
With the 1/1 because we need to push the extra damage. Play the snake trap, a hero power, and then use the bow to the face, and then every other creature that you can send to face. do that as well. So now if he doesn't have lethal, we set up lethal next turn.
Okay.
Now he has to have 3 damage to kill us. So that means, obviously abusive doesn't do it, dire doesn't do it, but power, a combination of dire or abusive, and like a Doomguard are one of the few things that could do it. Argus can't kill us.
He also has a 1/1 in his hand, so.
I would also like to point out.
Argus.
I was going to point out that he didn't have an Argus for 6 to taunt up his board, but obviously that doesn't matter because he has a real Argus in his hand. So now we do have this rare opportunity to rip a kill command off the top for kill hero power. That is a lethal combination, but we are not so fortunate. The only other thing that I think would have actually kept us competitively into this game was a Hunter's Mark, but we had a real shot to win had he not had the second Argus. And these are a lot of situations you have to really look at. Did we lose because we misplayed? Did we lose because we were unlucky? Did we lose because the deck didn't perform correctly? So in order to test if this deck is working for you, you need to ask yourself these questions. You want to make sure you know whether the deck was played correctly, or whether your opponent was lucky, or whether it was just the deck's fault for maybe not working the way it should.
I think we were somewhat unlucky, mainly because of the Sea Giant.
I do. I don't think we misplayed. I think we did the correct move, which is play to win. I think, it did suck that he had the second Argus, and I think that's ultimately what got us. And it also really sucked that he had the Sea Giant.
Yeah, second Argus was a huge rip. Sea Giant was obviously a huge rip. So, all in all, somewhat unlucky, but we had a decent hand as well.
So I would cut the freezing and the Hunter's Mark. I would keep the Owl because Owl can oftentimes silence Alkali Pains, or not Alkali Pains, Twilight Drakes. And it also can silence, Imp Gangs, Void Callers, Eggs. Almost anything in a Warlock deck can be silenced, I'm going to be honest. Okay. Argent Squires even.
Maybe not the Squire, not so good, but we definitely coined something here, right?
I would coin Creeper in this situation. So now, this is one of the rare situations I would do this, but Creeper trades well against an Argent Squire. Mm-hmm. And, Scientist dies, but, when Creeper dies against a Argent Squire, we're like, yeah, that's cool. More 1/1s. When Scientist dies, we're like, well, how are we going to get this Snake Trap going? And I don't think we're in a position to really try and bluff a Snake Trap. I think we're in the position to try and build a board state of value and make our board state so undeniably powerful that he's forced to attack and trigger our Snake Trap.
Right. So Knife Juggler, that thing needs to be off the board by turn 4. So we have a turn to dilly-dally, I guess. I don't really care too much about it now. So Scientist seems fine. Into Deathlord, pop the shield on here because of abusive, I guess.
And then, let's hope that we can turn this Deathlord plus a Scientist into some more value.
Imp Gang Boss. Just looking at trade and then trade into Scientist. This is pretty bad if he has snakes, or not snakes, if he has So how do we want to do this? We got the freezing trap.
So I think we still continue with the Deathlord and we go face. It's a little awkward, but it best sets up our snakes. And if we happen to roll a Leok,
we have,
which you seem to be, I thought we had snakes. I was going to say, if we happen to roll a Leok, which you seem to be very excellent at.
Freaking Argus.
Yeah, but luckily he attacked in, and this freezing is really just going to be a beating on him. Look at how much that freezing just ended him. And he attacked with the wrong creature. So, sometimes Dan's game.
How do you feel about Companion to roll Leok?
I think that's a reasonable choice.
Damn.
Just trade your Deathlord plus a 1/1 in and go face. This is not the greatest board state, but it's solid enough, and a Belcher into high main should really be solid here as far as curving out.
Were we ever worried about? Oh, what the heck? The Storm Mage is on? Question mark. Storm Mage. Abusive Sergeant. Hey, we like seeing that. It's a value trade for us on the 1/1.
Yeah.
He might have the second Doomguard if he's playing like this. So we can co-command Doomguard, right? Just kind of...
Yeah, and I think we also throw the Owl down just as a creature to have on board because we have 2 of them, and we're not in need to silence anything. It doesn't matter like what we silence. So it's okay. It does matter as long as we don't silence our own taunt.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it doesn't matter what we silence. But this is just to regain the board state and have an extra creature on board to make more efficient trades. And we're still keeping on curve, but we get the extra trade value of the 2/1.
Looks like he's just going to go Implosion.
We need it to not roll high. 4 is not exactly what I was looking for here.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to hire.
This has to go face, I think.
Yep, it definitely does. And then we can belch or snake trap to hopefully deal with all these awkward 1/1s.
Okay, Void Caller. So silencing that versus throwing down snakes.
So I think we have to silence now because he dropped a Void Caller, and this is a perfect trade for our high main. And we can drop the snakes with the Scientist next turn, and I don't think he's going to get through the Belcher just yet. And even if he does, a lot of pressure on board does force your opponent to make a play as a trade into you. So, you could just generate a powerful enough board to force him to trade in.
So, PO on the 1/1. Oh, Implosion again. That card has not been punished at all, even though we run double Unleash. And that's kind of...
Yeah, we haven't hit our Jugglers. We haven't hit our Unleashes. We have a Snake Trap a little to punish it, but that's not really punishing it. On the bright side, I do think he's not going to trade it in, so this does give our Owl some value. And then, yeah, we just pretty much play out our hand. So do this, trade a 2/2 in. Then just drop a Scientist, use your snakes. I don't think we eat his 2/3 because now, he's pretty much burned all of his Arcuses anyway, and we're in a racing situation. We're not in a value game. Value games are hard to win against Warlock. No, you need to just go face. We're going to get the snakes. We're currently winning on board state as is, and,
Okay.
I don't think he can really overtake us. He's already burned both of his Implosions, so it's going to be hard for him to touch the Juggler as well without...
My biggest fear was Mal'Ganis here, which is why I wanted to kill a 1/1.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about Mal'Ganis. You're right. I should have thought about that. I wasn't even registering Mal'Ganis as a hard cast. I was thinking, how can we best affect the board state? Oh, that was a terrible juggle.
Yeah, this is awkward now.
We should have definitely taken him out of 1/1. I was not even registering Mal'Ganis. That one's a player mistake. That one's my bad. That's what happens when you play tired.
So we can still deal with it to some degree. Stop going face, Juggler.
Every time we face, we just feel like the worst.
We're literally sucking our whole board in, though. If you go
so here's what I would suggest. Ripping off the Hunter's Mark and just letting them know what's up. That's...
Deathlord.
So we have to trade in. Is it our whole board?
Yep.
All right. Well, trade in our whole board. We get another Snakes, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Deathlord, Hero Power. This is still an easily winnable game. He's at 15. If he can't break through this Deathlord, and every time he attacks into it, like we're going to get some 1/1s. The 1/1s can quickly overwhelm him, and our life advantage is our biggest selling point to win this match.
Mm-hmm. It's somewhat scary, the hard cast, but I think
it is. But I think I think we can beat it though.
Okay, not an Argus. We're really happy with that.
Yeah, no Argus. We actually stand a very strong chance in this game. Just drop Juggler, go face, do what Hunters do, smoke them into the dome, and let them know how we really feel about this. So, I don't think he can beat us anymore because he can't currently get through the Deathlord as is. He goes down to, 5 life or 6 life? And, that's, let alone if he can kill our whole board, that's just a 3-turn clock, not to mention any top deck.
Right. If we had traded on the Mal'Ganis turn, I think Juggler would have survived, which would have been really nice to follow up.
Yes, it would have. I agree. That was a player mistake. That was my fault. I wasn't even registering Mal'Ganis.
So I think we're good here. He might be Shadow Flaming or something.
As long as he doesn't like Shadow Flame, even if he does Shadow Flame, I guess that's fine.
Well,
as long as he doesn't Argus. Argus, I think.
Why do they always have a Sea Giant?
I don't know. Sea Giant is apparently very popular lately. But like I said, he's dead in 2 turns. He's on 2-turn clock just on our hero power alone.
4,
and
6, or 8, 16. So it's still very hard for him to top deck something. Oh, okay then.
Oh, I was going to say, besides the fact that we could top deck any card to kill him this turn, he's sitting on 4, 12, 15 damage. There's no single card he could have top decked to kill us in that one time span, so I'm pretty sure the game was ours regardless. Because even Doomguard, his best top deck in that situation, because he was out of Mal'Ganis and stuff, and he was out of powers and all that, he couldn't tap at 2 life either. So he had no option to even take a second card.
Yeah, he did tap that turn. Right. Okay. So thank you for joining me, Deathstar.
No problem.
And you really displayed the power of the deck, I think. I wish we had more diverse mulligans, but as this is the beginning of the season, this is typically what you'll see on the ladder. More aggressive zoos.
We showed that it could have beaten any of those matchups. One of those could have been lost to a player, and then the other 2 was, sometimes your opponents just draw better, and that's Hearthstone as a game in general. I don't think that was really a display of the deck losing or in any of those situations, because they were all very close matches in which we lost, and we almost came back from just our opponent drawing almost brutally more efficient than we did.
Oh yeah, the double Sea Giants for 0 cost was insane.
And then our Druid going turn 1 piloted into Wild Growth into just whatever, being Druid as a whole and having the Wild Growth and Innervate is almost impossible for any class to beat. So I don't think that really justifies the power of the deck when, Druid does what it does, because they can beat any class as it. And that's the appeal of a Druid class.
Right. To wrap things up, the Deathlord Hunter deck is a very strong Hunter deck that is kind of geared to be a more defensive build. It does well against other Hunters, it does well against aggro, and has very strong comeback mechanics through Hunter's Mark. And having the double owl makes it so the Deathlord also has very slight negative drawbacks, right? Whereas
yes. Well, you use the owl and the Hunter's Marks to take away the drawback of the Deathlord, and you use the Deathlord to increase the efficiency of your traps, and use it to basically be an all-around more defensive deck. So my suggestion to you, if you're really looking for not only a unique Hunter deck, but if you're fighting a lot of aggro out there, this is a great option for you. It's a great tool. As long as you stay on curve, you will beat most aggro decks in the game with this. But my suggestion is, if you are seeing a lot of Control Warrior, if you are seeing a lot of Druids, if you are seeing a lot of just heavy control classes, Freeze Mages, this is not the right deck in the meta. So it depends what you feel like you're seeing and what call you want to make at the moment. But I think, ultimately make the correct decision. But if you need an anti-aggro hunter deck, this is your choice.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Deathstar. And if you want to go ahead and plug like your Twitter and your stream, where they can check out you playing the Death, or some Deathstar list, or some previous Twitch VODs, I guess.
Yes. Let me grab my Twitch here. Sorry. So there's my Twitch. Okay,
so let me
put that in chat there, so if you want that. And then let me get my Twitter.
So we have the Twitch link and quick Twitter follow.
There's and there's social media if you want to follow me. I will hopefully be streaming much more currently after China versus CN. I've been very much wanting to stream this Deathlord Hunter more, but there's been so many requirements of me lately with tournaments and stuff. I haven't found the time, but I do plan on continuing to stream more. So hopefully you will catch me with all my unique hunter decks and you enjoy my type of play.
All right. Thank you so much, Deathstar, and until next time.